right, okay, let's get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another week of Offset, which I'm very excited to bring you a bunch of really great artists this week that we're going to talk to and learn all about their process and their inspiration and their workflow and look at their portfolios. Today, we're starting off with a really strong start with Carra Sykes. You might know her. She actually has done a lot of streaming on Behance, and she's been a part of the Adobe community for a while, but is really excited to be able to sit down with her today and just get to talk to her and pick her brain. If this is your first time here, hi, hello, welcome. My name is Ryan Selvy. We're taking over Adobe Live this week as they're taking a week off. And over the next 4 days, we're going to be having 2 artists a day and just going through and having kind of a talk show podcast kind of feel towards live streaming. And I would love to hear your questions, your comments, what you want to see, what you want to ask as we kind of go along and bring our guests on. But I don't want to kill too much time without having Carra on here because we only have her here for an hour and a half. But I would love to introduce her. So please welcome her back. Welcome her for the first time, whichever you'd like to do. But please welcome Carra. Hey, Carra.
Hi.
My voice went up. I was like, hey,
Carra. as you should when you get excited to see me. I was just kidding. You're like, hi. I was just over here dancing to the intro music. So.
Oh yeah, a little groovy. I guess I should also put on
groovy.
let's put on some background music for here too. This is called Night Driving. If you get really tired of it, please let me know. But we have a lot of people in the chat, some of which I'm sure you know, like Jack Watson and Sam Peterson. Hello to Oliver, Anthony, Reverb Mike, Frank. It's great to see everybody. Steve as well. But for everyone who has never met you before, do you want to just real quick kind of give a rundown of, I don't know, your elevator pitch of you as a artist?
Yeah, I feel like it's changed over the years. So, okay, right. I'm Carra Sykes. I am an illustrator and designer and design manager and mom and a long list of hobbyist. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I like
so you're based out of Texas, right?
Yes, thank you. I was like, yeah.
And and what do you do for work right now?
So I am a design manager and lead a design team that oversees about 8 different brands in the marketing tech world.
Oh, cool. And so how did you get there? What made you land where you are now?
Yeah, so I worked originally as a designer at an agency, so doing a lot of creative work. This is the quick spiel of it. I did that after school. Well, it took a little while to get that job. And then left the agency world, did freelance for about 4.5-ish years. And then during the beginning of the pandemic, I was kind of freaking out a little bit. We were going to start trying to have our now son. And so I was looking for work and I found a job. Everyone was remote at the time, which is great for me. I live in a small town between Houston and Austin. So I got a job at a place called Planoly. And so now I actually work for the company that owns Planoly. And we created a centralized design team there where I oversee it.
Fantastic. I think that COVID affected us all in such a way, especially with working. I know that working from home, I had just recently started my freelance journey, and it was weird because all of a sudden everyone was also kind of working from home, where I was kind of just getting my feet just prior to that. But it's funny how it changes things. And I met you during COVID, actually, because you started live streaming and you were making these beautiful illustrations, and you were also doing stuff with space, which I was a big fan of. But I guess to give everyone the best possible kind of understanding of what we're talking about, it would be great if we could hop into our first segment, which is when we just kind of take a look at your work. So let's check that out. let's look at your work. All right, so I have brought up CarraSykes.com, the one and only place. Not the only place, that's a total lie. One of the best places to check out your work. And so when we land on it, we see a very good range of different types of illustration and design. I specifically kind of remember you from these like iconographic, especially like these pride stickers. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so gosh, I don't even remember the year. I think I had just left my agency job, and I had connected with these people on Instagram back in the day, like when I moved to Houston from North Carolina in 2013. I connected with a lot of people through Instagram, and then we actually met a lot of people who worked at Instagram before they were acquired by Facebook, and then Facebook. But
oh, so that was a while ago, actually.
Yeah. So this one was awesome because this project to me is like the catalyst into like, I don't know, it really like changed my career path. I think really allowed me to express myself like as someone of the LGBTQ plus community, like in my art. I had never done that before, but I got asked to do it by my friend Jeffrey. Him and his team reached out, and I was supposed to design just one, and I ended up designing I should have brought the sketchbook of that. I got to find in all my files, like all the different ideas I came up with, but they ended up wanting me to do these two, which I thought was really, really special. And that to me was like huge. I still like have that as my first project on my site. It's super old, but it's one of those that kind of is a reminder of like where I've come from, and just like, it always makes me feel like honored and inspired when I see it. So yeah.
It's also one of those things, it's like, you know, you don't necessarily think of all of your pieces to be something that kind of like go far beyond you. But I know specifically when we're talking about these stickers, like they're very like obviously iconographic, but they're very like they resonate with me. And when I think of the pride stickers on like Instagram, I think of this little megaphone, and it's just so funny to like know you as well, to like, you know, bring those two worlds together, because it's just, I've seen that megaphone so many times now. Like it's gone so far, which is really kind of cool to see your work go there, you know?
Yeah, and seeing some celebrities use it too was really cool. And of course, like just people who, you know, aren't like all worldly known, like seeing people use it too and it pop up, I was just like, it was cool because like you're saying, it's almost like when you create work like this, it's not just for yourself, it can be for other people, and hopefully lift them up and make them feel seen or known, you know, something you can relate to so you don't feel alone, which was really, really exciting about this project.
And so obviously up here we have a little flip through of your portrait and a little logo that you have that kind of looks like NASA. Do you want to kind of talk about your inspirations of kind of where that came from and what inspires you as an artist?
Yeah, I think for me, a big part of creativity kind of is like within that, like going back into your inner child too. So like even if you are creating something that might be like serious, I mean, you know, kids, they're not all just like rainbows and butterflies, like they are growing and like having these feelings too. So I always think it's like really interesting to start to look at the world in a different way. Like, and so for me, this goes back to college when I did a project. I had this helmet that I bought from Goodwill. I stripped it and then I like sanded it and painted it white, and I would wear it as like my creativity cap. So I would put it on and I'm pretty sure like my class, we had this one class where we had to do a project, which actually is interesting. We'll talk about it when we talk about artists later. And I wore the helmet during my presentation, and I even put it as like my senior show piece. And so for me, this idea of space and things like that has always been so exciting for me. I am terrified of the idea of going to space. I don't think I I could do it. We can do it if we tried, but I don't really want to. I like the idea of it, but the like going there freaks me out. And so of course, like the NASA meatball logo, I was like, I want my name in that. That would be fun, especially with NASA being a short word. You know, Carra has like one more letter, but I thought it'd be fun
with that extra R.
Yeah. So I feel like for me, it was fun to do that and see what that looks like. And I actually did one for Planoly when I was there. I kind of took it. We had like a little space thing.
Oh, look at that!
Water,
cute.
so yeah. Oh, I'll hold it up.
But that's great. Now you have a bunch of other things on your website as well. What would you say that you're also extremely proud of, as far as something that if someone says, "Let me see your work," what do you kind of like to point to?
Yeah, I mean, you'll see a lot of like queer art on my page, which is real exciting. I think, gosh, I don't know. I've been thankful to do a lot with Adobe. Like some of these pieces, if you scroll over, that self-portrait was for Pride. I think it was like
2019.
Yeah, 2019. So I did that for Adobe Pride and got to do these GIFs. And I do say GIFs with a hard G.
I am always so confused at it. I started with GIF, and then I went to GIF, and then I went to GIF, and then it's like I can't land anywhere anymore. I've lost all concepts.
You just gotta say it and know what you're meaning. I was proud of this piece too. I mean, for someone who was for a while like so scared to like wear rainbows and things like that, this was like kind of my statement to like just really be myself and wear my heart on my shoulders. So and I really like the way this kind of in a way was a stylization change in my work, not fully, but I started using these like shadows that I create with like using color and multiply, and then like finding that color through multiplying the layer and creating this dimensionality that I think wasn't always in my old work. So then this you'll see in my work kind of down the line. I have a few different styles that I kind of lean into, but this is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I definitely have learned that using color in your shadows is something that will immediately make your work feel a lot more 3D, even if it is in like a 2D setting like this, just because in real life, the shadows aren't just a black opacity layer. It has something with different blues and purples, and it really can make things pop very quickly. It's interesting to hear that this feels stylistically different to you, just because when I look at your other stuff, I feel like I can still see a through point for everything, and everything feels very cohesive. But to your point, like learning different techniques and approaches always kind of make you view your own work differently.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about this one at all?
Yeah. So Piccolina, they reached out to me. Originally, we were going to do another athlete, and then they couldn't get approval on it. So I had some really great sketches I was super happy with. And this is Billie Jean King. And so this is for I think it was their like athletic trailblazer series, which is really exciting because my son is turning 2 next month, and I think the shirt I got is a 3T, so I think it will fit him soon, which I'm very excited. So I'll have to have him model. But it's nice to have, we kind of live in this world where a lot of if you are in design or illustration, it's not that often that you get to be on products or like have physical items that your work's on. A lot of it goes into social media, and that post is just digital, or could be a digital board or something like that. So when I get hired to do things that are physical, it's super exciting. And there's also limitations, which is also exciting to me, because it's like, okay, you can have this many colors. And so I have to figure out, okay, how do I depict that? And so this was fun. I also took reference photos of me holding a tennis racket.
Right.
And that was hilarious because I was like talking to my wife. I was like, here, take my phone. And then, okay, we have that old tennis racket in the garage that we got from the thrift store. Like, I'm going to go get it. So I would have to take these pictures, and they were just so so dorky, but it helped because, you can't always use photos that exist because of copyright and all of the legality mess that I never want to get into. So a lot of that came from looking at images of Billie Jean King and then like posing my body in a way that I thought would look have movement and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's also tough. Sometimes you have a pose in mind, and like no matter what reference you look up, it just won't seem to nail down that extra angle that you need, and you're just like, oh, just move just a little bit more to the left or something. Something that really sticks out for me in this piece in particular, I think, is really strong is your sense of depth, because everything is very flat, but we still have about 5 or 4 different levels of depth to it. So you have tennis ball, then you have the net, then you have the player, and then you have these big splotches of just, and you can kind of even see through them in some places. But it's cool because not only were you able to kind of achieve all this without shadow, but also you were able to achieve it through your change in style. So you can see that back here you have your brush strokes, but up here everything is very full, and the lines are just completely solid, which is a cool and interesting way to see depth.
So it's interesting because at the time I didn't love the people in the background being slightly see-through, but the client didn't like them as full circles, so like stylized in that way. So they asked to see a version that was a little looser, and so this is what I came up with. So it was, and then hearing you say that you feel like it brings that depth is really nice, because at the time I was like, I don't know, everything else looks this way, and then it ended up turning out like this. So
yeah, it definitely helps push it back to just make a division of, otherwise I would be like, why are there circles around her head,
So true.
So when you're approaching likeness, do you draw directly over like a piece, or have you worked with portraiture to kind of get likeness down, or do you doodle until it just lands?
If y'all will see that most of my work does not have people, right? Because I think I get so obsessed with it being like half, like, okay, my favorite portrait that I see people make don't look just like the person, but it's them. Like if it's like, I'm thinking of something I've recently seen of Pedro Pascal, and I'm like, yeah, it doesn't look exactly like him, but it just like has that feeling. And I think sometimes I get so stuck on wanting that perfection, but it's like, well, I'm still stylizing it. So a lot of the times what I'll do is I'll draw from images a lot, and then try to take features and try to put that into the piece. So like from that image of me like putting the features on, and the face and all that, I think I think it was an artist, Rebecca Green, I think her name is Green. She had a really amazing blog post about likeness and how she would draw from 10 reference images and then kind of find a way to make it come together. And so as you can see, like Abby Jacobson talks about not drawing hands in her book, and how scary that is, which I agree. I don't draw faces that often, but I guess I do have a decent number in there of faces. And I had to do that whole project with Teen Vogue where I had to draw like, I think it was 30 portraits. I can't, it was for their, I think it was 30. It was a wild number. That one down there. Maybe it wasn't 30 right
this
there.
One down
here.
Here.
Yeah. Oh, 20. Okay, 20 under 20. So that project was terrifying for me.
Yeah, what a job to take on if you don't like doing portraits.
I was terrified because, people also like these people would see them, and it's not like I'm drawing someone like who's super duper famous that probably wouldn't see the article. Like, so I wanted to do them justice and make them feel like, oh, that's a cool picture of me. But yeah, that
the
one
pressure
was
of that, I definitely feel that, especially when people tell me to draw them. I'm always like, nah, I don't do that. I don't do that. I don't want that pressure and anxiety on me. But these turned out wonderful. I like your use of color, like the use of shapes in the background. And I also like how they're not all directly the same, like they're not all like a 3/4 turned, but they all still feel cohesive just by the way that you styled them and colored them. And they all feel like maybe how they're presenting themselves is almost a sense of their personality, which is cool to see. But I did like that you were talking about people that inspired you. You bring up Rebecca Green and who's the other one that you mentioned? There's somebody else, I think. Oh, Abby Jacobson, which is amazing because of Broad City. But I think that would be a really great time to jump into our next segment, which is Art Talk. Now, Art Talk is when we kind of take a minute to address the fact that art isn't created in a vacuum, that where we become artists is all from inspiration and kind of the art that we also absorb and also the world around us that we absorb. So when I bring people onto the show, I like to ask them who inspires them and who really is like a big part of their artistic path. So I wanted to bring that up to you and kind of see who brings inspiration to you and who's your muse.
Yeah, so that question is always kind of hard because there's a lot of people that inspire me, like that are currently living and also people who are no longer on the earth physically. So I'm going to share my screen in a second. I wanted to pop up one of the books I have over here. I had some books on the shelf, but I took them down and then I went and got some from another room. But Margaret Kilgallen, we'll see. Yeah. All right. So I don't know if y'all have seen Beautiful Losers, the documentary. This one, which is, you can tell my copy's like beat up because I love this documentary so much. And this is where I met Margaret Kilgallen. And
so you guys have already actually met?
No, like,
oh, okay. I was like, what?
got to meet in the watch meeting, like inspiration.
Got it.
Yeah, I'm gonna pop open my screen.
Let's see. Margaret Kilgallen died in 2001, so that's sad. But she was born October 28th, 1967. San Francisco Bay Area artist who combined graffiti art, painting, and installation art. Through a contemporary artist, her work showed a strong influence from folk art. She was considered a central figure in the Bay Area Mission School art movement. The more you know.
Yes.
So this is a piece of mural that you kind of were able to get up in close and personal with?
All right. So this photo is from 2012. So we're talking over 11 years ago. I took a road trip I lived in North Carolina, and my cousin got in the car with me, graduated college, and all I wanted to do was take a road trip. We ended up going all the way up into San Francisco and went to SF MoMA. And I had no idea that Margaret's work was there. But I remember turning the corner. I think like back then, I didn't use the internet. I used the way I use the internet now, which is like, I researched, but it wasn't like in the same way that I would have been like, oh, we're going to SF MoMA. I can see Margaret Kilgallen's work.
Right.
It was, walk in the room and like literally I was taken aback and I was like, I started like crying. I was like, and I'm about to cry now. It was so incredible to turn the corner and like see her work because I had loved it so much. And in the documentary, you do learn that she passes away in 2001, and it's a very like heartbreaking part of the documentary. But I love her work because it's so you can just like really feel her in there, and then like it's very the hand done kind of look, which you might not know like that much about my background from seeing my work now because I do mostly digital work, but I do love that like she would get in there and kind of, she just seems so what you think of as like free spirit. And I think these are all images I really love that I find of like portraits of her. I mean, look, I'm not a surfer or a skater, but I loved those like types of cultures growing up, and like this picture is so iconic. And so her work is like huge, like play on words, and like win some, lose some, but it's not spelled like win some, lose some. And
also the layering of that one's also so interesting, because it's like lose some is such a secondary thought in it. It's so far back.
And it seems like what was interesting about Beautiful Losers, and like in my work, it was very much kind of this, if y'all know Jeff McFredage, his work's in there, and Mike Mills, and like Barry McGee. I know I'm just tapping off names and it doesn't, I'm just showing the screen and you can't see it. But I think what I loved, it was like this bridge from like the art world into also kind of like design world that I feel like I'm living in when it comes to my personal work, versus like my day-to-day job is a little different. I feel like I do separate my like illustrative side from the design work I do today, but which is also an interesting thing that I could talk about forever. But yeah, she just played with words, and it's all on these pieces that could just like be crumbled up or like rained on and get messed up on. And I just love that it's just kind of, it feels like that fleeting moment of kind of like Basquiat's work, where it was on cardboard and things that weren't archival, but it just existed. This is one of my favorite pieces. I don't know why I love it so much. And I think it's because it's like, well, maybe it's because it's her work like super stripped down to the simplification of like how I see and create a lot of my work is like, a lot of my work is can go from like slightly complex, but I like to stick to the kind of the iconic, like simple look. And this piece I love. It's
funny that you mentioned Basquiat right when you were like bringing up a crown piece, which I feel like is like one of the closest things over to it.
I like that. That just happened to happen. Yeah, and this piece too, I'm still finding a way to get it tattooed on me. I have to figure out how to do that. But yeah, it just has this, I don't know. And then kind of, it just has this like folk, I mean, it's like folk art, but with this graphic designery feel, which I know she probably wasn't going for, but it's like signage and the things that you see every day, but like seen a slightly different. I think it was this, I don't have it, but it was like the word slaughter, and it's like you can't have slaughter without laughter, like the way it was spelled. And so I'm very much like, I like to do play on words. And actually before I saw Beautiful Losers and even knew Margaret Kogan, like I had painted on this wall like all these words and play on words when I was doing study abroad, and like I took over my whole studio of just like painting on the wall. But yeah, I just really, there's just something that just like, I don't know, I feel when I see her work. And one of my favorite things, I got this quote, I do spend a lot of time trying to perfect my line work. When you get close up, you can always see the line waver. And I think that's where the beauty is. And for me, when I'm working in something like Illustrator, a program like that, I try really hard to not I really don't want it to be perfect. Now, sometimes I have client work that it makes sense to do like perfect geometry and stuff like that, but I really like to make that kind of work feel like a human was behind it, and was very like, there is like a slight waver to it. And when I heard her say that, I just was like, that's just amazing.
And there's that human touch to it.
Yeah.
Just to make it so it's not all just made by machines.
Yeah. Yeah.
So speaking of kind of your process and your way of adding your own personal style to your work, is there anything that you've been working on lately that we could keep take a little peek at?
Gosh, what I've been working on lately, I'll be honest, I have not, actually, I'm going to stop sharing. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I haven't been doing a lot lately. I did get some recent client freelance work, which the other night I sat in front of the TV while my wife was playing, what's that game? Horizon Zero Dawn. They just got a new DLC thing. I think she said it was called something else because, anyways, I was drawing and I was like, I was nervous to do it because I hadn't done it in a while. And I was like, am I still going to be able to just like sketch out this idea that I have in my head that I like created? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it again. And then the next day my hand hurt because I hadn't been drawing like that vigorously in a while. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get back into that. But I do keep like, I keep a lot of ideas written down. And then I take a lot of pictures of things to be like, let's do that later. I mean, one of the biggest things I'm working on lately has been just learning to sew and not so much like design that you'll see normally. But I think the other thing too is a lot of my client work has to be so secret now that, and if I'm doing it or if I'm not doing client work after we put our son to bed, then I'm like, how do I learn to relax? And so, yeah. But I feel like after talking to you and looking back at my work, that's always something that makes me be like, okay, like I need to do that again because I really do like it.
Well, I think that's a great segment also to a new segment that we have that I was talking about with you, which is called Burnout. So when we were kind of getting ready for this interview, we were talking a little bit about different things that we do to kind of stay motivated, stay inspired, and coming over the idea of burnout. And you were talking a little bit about your projects and things that you get to do. What's something that you do when you're feeling burned out, and how do you deal with art block and the idea of obstacles that you have to kind of overcome to create art?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that did create burnout in my most recent life is like always creating to get a client or always creating to like not sell it, but it's like that idea, okay, if I make money, I can continue supporting my family. So if I can make it doing this project, oh, cool, I can like, you know, save that money for something for our family. Or, you know, I think it's when it becomes so like survival mode and that I start to get really burnt out. And that's when I'm like, oh God, I don't even want it. Like, what am I doing? So, you know,
Mike in the chat, by the way, says, when in doubt, go get snacks, which I can fully agree with. Definitely.
I love snacks. In fact, my website says
Easter candy right here.
My website says powered by Squarespace and snacks.
Oh, cute. What are you, a podcast?
No,
powered by Squarespace.
I sponsor every YouTube video I watch.
You really do, honestly.
Well, speaking of YouTube, I actually, when I work, I'll put on people making clothes, like sewing. Like, so I'll watch a lot of sewing videos. So my brain space right now is really in like construction and how something goes from like this idea to like a physical object, and like how you have to think like 3 steps ahead before you even work on cutting or sewing. And you have to kind of do this interesting like balance of like, also, if you get it wrong, you have to sit there and take out all the stitches, and it's a practice in patience and a practice of like not trying to get that finished product like in 2 seconds, because for me, a lot of times I already have this like idea in my head and I'm like, I need to see what it looks like. And I remember in college, one of the things that I had, when I had taken a year off school and when I went back to finish my degree, my biggest thing was like, don't forget about the process. Enjoy it. Enjoy the like struggle, and then like the getting 10 steps too far, and then culling your work down to be more simplified. So for me, sewing has become that. And with our son being tiny size, it's like, well, that's like, that's approachable. I can actually like sew. And so for me, like, burnout looks like, what am I not going to do for my career? Like, what am I not going to do for trying to make money? I've had moments where I'm like, oh, maybe I'll start a kids line. I'm like, no, stop it. This is for fun. Like, you know, if someone down the line is like, hey, come design a whole line of clothes, I would be okay with it. But I think right now it's very much this like safe space for me. That and getting back into like working out. We've got this like, okay, so like background information. Also, there's our cat right there.
Hey, cat sighting.
He's a little loaf. Yeah, like this is, I've gotten out of what used to be my office and into this room. There's a lot more light. I don't feel like I'm in a cave. I have to, that's right there. So I have to go work out to get the blood flowing. But outside of sewing and outside of doing different things that like cooking, things that aren't gonna, be a paycheck or whatever. For me, a big thing is like going to thrift stores or like going to art museums. And for a while, like those things weren't available during the pandemic. So it was very much like having to find something like that's within touching distance. And so I feel like yeah, it's like getting yourself out there. For me, it's really much blood pumping and all that stuff. And yeah.
And just getting out of something that you're familiar with, and I guess just kind of like getting your brain off of art to kind of focus on exercise and just what you're creating, or not what you're creating, what you're not creating in the moment. Oliver says, new segment, show us your cat.
Oh, wait.
And also Mike is saying, Edison solved all his problems with a good long nap. I would get nothing done if that's how I approached everything.
Napping is my coping mechanism for when I'm stressed. So I feel like, yeah, I can't nap anymore. I'm not allowed to nap now that we have our son.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's very true too, right? It's part of being a mom, I guess. So we looked a little bit a second at your collection, but I would love to see more of your art books. So let's check out
could I see your collection?
So obviously, as artists, we normally collect things and we build inspiration from different places. This segment is just to check out the things that you collect. So you said you collected art books that were next to you. But let's check them out. What are some of your favorite art books?
Yeah, so keeping on theme, obviously we have this one, the Margaret Kilgallen one. Now, I'm going to be honest, I haven't read it because I am a picture girl. And I like looking at pictures, but there's a ton of her work in here. And it smells good. That's the thing about books. Like, I love Pinterest and I can be on there all day and have the algorithm, serve me things. But there's nothing like a good old book. So I actually just grabbed most of my Beautiful Losers books, like this one. These are all books that I got. So I actually have a lot of book buying problem, but I don't think it's a problem. Let's see.
Anthony says, by the way, I can't nap anymore either. And Steve says he is a 7th Dan Jedi nap master. So we have both sides of the spectrum here.
Yes. I got my Mike Mills book.
Ooh, can we see some of those?
Yeah, so Mike Mills did what is that? Now there's this new movie that I haven't seen. Well, it's not new. It's Come On, and it has like Joaquin Phoenix and I don't know, an unknown actor. But Beginners, I don't know if y'all saw that, but so he does a lot of films, and so let's see. I think like this book is pieces from his films and like little drawings and things.
Very kind of like Warhol-y almost sometimes, with just like strong silhouettes. But then other ones, it seems like there's a lot of photography in there too.
Yeah, I think with the combo of, it's interesting because Mike Mills did illustration, but also is very much like film focused. So like does a lot of movies recently. And then here's Barry McGee.
Ooh, look at that type. See, that's giving me very strong vibes of what's her name that we were just talking about, Margaret
So interesting, they actually were together.
Oh, okay.
And they did have a daughter together. In fact, actually one of the reasons, and I don't want to fact check because I'm not sure, it's been a while since I read it, but she did have cancer and didn't want to go through with treatment because she knew that her daughter wouldn't be able to like survive. I think, could be completely wrong with that, but they were together, so you see a lot of their influence. Barry McGee like also did just like he painted on I can't see if I can find it, but he painted on these like where is it, bottles. I don't know if there's any in here, but it's like a lot of that like graffiti street art culture.
Absolutely.
Like played with type too, which is really cool.
Definitely some cartoon influence. I mean, I guess that goes hand in hand with graffiti, but I can definitely see the crossover of their works as well, especially with the way that they're approaching both type and faces.
I feel like his work was like a lot more on the color, like the way colors that I use. I think like Margaret's work was maybe a little more muted. And
what was the name of that book?
This one?
Yes.
I'm actually not sure. This one I lucked out and got like I think it did. I used to have a book sleeve on it, but it got messed up because I'm kind of, let's see. It just says all artwork and photographs by Barry McGee, so it doesn't say anything about the name of it.
Because, you know, if I can just put, you said Barry McGee, right?
Yeah, so the last name is McGee.
All right, I'll go and put that in the chat for you guys too if you guys want to check it out. It's Barry McGee. Robert says, I'm lurking today. Listen with one ear and look with half eye. Hi everyone, Carra, Ryan, and Sam from Robert. Hey Robert, thanks for lurking. Good to have you. But I know you have that full shelf of books next to you. Is there any other ones that you are a real big fan of?
I had I'm so scared that they're all gonna fall down. We'll see. Obviously, I love John Contino Brand by Hand.
By Hand, okay. Now, is that one helping you with branding when you are kind of creating stickers and different iconographic pieces?
Well, his work is actually a lot more fluid, I think, than mine, and a little on the like rough side.
Okay.
But I just love his work. He is, I think he worked on the Buccaneers New Jerseys like recently. Does a lot of stuff with sports, but like, I think it's really cool to see this type of art come into the sports world, and because it's got that like, I don't know, I grew up playing sports, and there's a roughness to it, but there's also this like beauty to it, and so I think like it's really awesome to see his work kind of come into sports. And then I've got like the Draplin book because, you know, I'm a graphic designer, so everyone pretty much has the Draplin. Pretty much everything by Aaron Draplin book, this one. And then
I want to get that book. I don't have it, but it's been in my shopping cart or like saved for later for so long.
It's amazing because there's tons of pictures of like the stuff that he's found. Let's see if I can find. There's like sketchbook stuff in here, and then there's a lot of, because he's a collector and I'm a collector in a different way. Like I love like trinkets and finding these things at like thrift stores and antique stores. And in Texas, especially where we live, and antique stores are of plenty. Like you're never gonna run out of finding them.
Well, in New York, they're here, but they're all pick clean, or they're $1,000 million.
Yeah. You can get some stuff for pretty good prices here. One of the things that I had to compromise when moving into this room, though, is I couldn't have all my trinkets around, but we're gonna find a place for them. I haven't gotten rid of them because they're dear to my heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing your collection with us. I do appreciate it. We are about halfway through, so I was going to do a little break, if we can, for Monkey Paws. So if you guys have never heard of Monkey Paws before, they are I learned them through Anna Davis Court, but they are a series of exercises that you can do very easily just to make sure that you're taking care of your hands, because our hands are right now the best connector to our art until we can just plug in our brains to the computers and go from there. Would you like to do them along, or would you like to take a minute to breathe and be off camera because you've been on camera for about an hour?
I am here to do it.
You're here for it?
I have to. I need to, considering the other day my hand hurt. So
yeah, exactly. There you go. See, these are actually really helpful. Obviously, good posture is always very important for drawing and making sure that you're not, putting your arm in weird positions. Draw from the elbow. But regardless, there's 4 different exercises, all real quick. And so you start off by reaching out like this, and then you bring them in. You bring it in. There you go. You have to make the noises. They're all on the top, so it's very important. By the way, thank you to Anna Davis Court for these beautiful illustrations on the bottom. And so you release, and you go down like this. Bring them in. Release. Then we flip and give them away. And then one more, which is towards ourselves. And and so you shake them up, you move them around. Welcome to Ann Kit. Welcome to the stream. Sam says, contractually obligated to make the noises. Yes, absolutely. It's all part of the contract. And so what I'll normally just do is I'll just do them probably one more time. But you can do them for as long as you can. I mean, obviously don't hurt yourself. I'm not a medical professional. You might feel a little tense for it, but give it some free flow to make sure that it just works for you, and you can feel it as like a nice stretch, like touching your toes or what have you. So break it up. You can also do some neck stretches as well. Stand up, walk around if you can. Not you though, because you have to stay here. But everyone else is more than welcome to check it out. So I do have a question for you, Carra. You went to VCU, right?
I did, yes.
And you used to have a green beanie, right?
Oh no.
Yeah? That means that it's time to do our next segment.
From this to that.
From this to that is the segment when we get to look at the old art that still exists on the internet from previous times. And I know you were talking a little bit about 11 years ago, but we went even further back. This is actually the farthest back that we have on your website, which is January 14th, 2012. And as it says what website's currently in the process of being built. Cheers,
Isn't it
obviously.
always?
And we have all of these different works here that you created way back when. So let's see what things load as I click into them, because sometimes it gives you the chance and other times it doesn't. But obviously this is a different time of your artist journey. Do you want to talk a little bit about kind of what this was like and how you've kind of come from here to where you are now?
Yeah, so back in the day, I used to do a lot more photography. Photography was a big part of my work.
Okay.
In fact, bottom right, I went on tour with a band called Damien Sumi and the Minor Prophets. Shot photos there. I took a lot of self-portraits. I spent a lot of Friday nights in college, wanting to be YouTuber, but didn't do it, but would take self-portraits. And I was kind of I didn't hang out with people that much. I spent a lot of time alone, and a lot of that was creating. And so that picture is one up in this, I had the craziest apartment. I had this loft space with a huge window. And so I would go up there and shoot, but that was with studio lights and things like that. I am someone who always likes learning new things. And I think in recent years, I've had to kind of slow down and have a little more focus. Oh yeah, oh my gosh, that's so long ago. This was in Houston. This is, I had met Chris, who's got second from the right. I had met him randomly in Houston because I was really in on the creative scene there, and he asked me to come shoot their band. A lot of these guys are in like multiple bands in Houston. They're really talented. But we went up and shot. So a lot of my like photography is a lot more like experimental. Like I would try like weird different things. And so yeah, this piece, that's crazy. I totally forgot I shot this photo. We went up into this venue and it was nighttime, and I had like a few of these weird lights that I like would shine different ways to create these different textures here. Wow.
Now with photography, I know you said that you took pictures of yourself for the tennis piece, but do you ever really still mess around with photography at all, or have you mostly kind of left that in the past now?
So a lot of it, I'm looking down here, I have been shooting now. Like I have a little Fuji film camera that I use that actually is like a hot commodity now. Everyone wants is the X100V, I think. And I use that as kind of my carry camera. A lot of times, obviously, our phone's there, but I've been taking a lot of like, this is from my birthday, like self-portrait on the Instax minis. And so since these are like a lot cheaper than getting film developed, I've been playing with these as kind of just like a don't think, just do, which is super fun to capture like moments of like our lives together. So like my son in this one was like super upset right here at Renfest, and I was like, I gotta take that picture. And then he was happy in this one. Oh wait, in this one. And so I love oh yeah, there he is sleeping. And this project though, yeah.
Oh yeah, let's do that one real quick before we hop over.
Oh yeah. Oh wait, here he is sleeping in his little like Lord of the Rings cloak thing that we got him. I love Renfest and things like that. Sidebars, I've been playing D&D for the past like I think 3-ish years with friends. We just do it on video chat.
Oh yeah, what are you?
I am currently a bard.
Of course,
which is
everyone's
exciting.
always a bard.
No. I'm a changeling bard, but I wasn't the first one that we did. God, what was I? I don't even remember what my first character was because I'm so into this character now. But it's been a lot more playful. My first character was a little bit shyer, and this one's a little kind of like, I don't know, like me hyped up.
By the way,
yeah.
Wade is sliding in very quickly because you mentioned Lord of the Rings, and he kind of just like magically appeared. He's like, where am I? And D&D. He's like, I came at the right time. Hi, Wade. Welcome to the chat.
I would say also, I just want to put this out into the world. Like, D&D has made me better at my job and directing a team because it's very much like improv and yes and also just like being able to go with what happens. And I think it's a really beautiful way for like creatives to be creative in different ways. And also people who don't call themselves creatives, like getting involved in something like D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, like it really puts your brain in a different space. And I think it's a beautiful thing. So.
Yeah, I think that it's helpful for everyone to be able to at least kind of, to your point, do something with improv, do something with D&D for the yes and then you can later bring that into your piece, whether that's design or photography or any sort of creative process. Even if it's not creative process, honestly, like if account managers would do improv, I feel like we would all be way better off. But tell me a little bit about this cool piece with mother-daughter.
Yes. Hi, Mom, if you're watching, and hi, Dad, if you're watching too. So back in, I was trying to get a job out of school, and it was a very like kind of sad time for me because I was like thinking right out of college, yeah, I'm gonna get this like awesome agency gig and I'm gonna be making stuff for like Nike, and like, you get out of school, you're hyped because you're a senior and you're just like so ready to take on the world. And like for so long, like I wasn't getting work and I was doing freelance, like not making any money, like not knowing how to put like value to my work and in a like financial way. So I was living at home, and we ended up going to my grandma's for like a little bit because our house was being worked on. And so this photo is actually a later one in the series called Mother-Daughter. But my uncle always joked that my mom had like a band t-shirt from me that I was going to give to Goodwill, and my mom would just like wear it. So it came from this space of, okay, like what is it like to look at my mom as me and like kind of like see those features that we might have that are similar. And so like it was an exploration too of like trying to get the same kind of image, but they always came out as very similar. But when you look closer, you can see like those like nuances that aren't the same. And so I actually have the whole series on my website that has the helmet, the space helmet's there.
Ooh,
I forgot.
Let's see if I can pull it up real quick. Yeah, I'm also interested to see, because do you still have the space helmet?
I do, but I actually ended up painting it red. I don't know why. It was like this moment of like wanting it to be different. And I think like it's actually in our garage closet I saw the other day when, you know, you don't go in there and you're like, oh, this is still there. Along with those skateboards that I am terrified to hurt myself on, that I probably shouldn't own, but yeah. Okay, so this was the first photo. And so I think, I can't remember if she's wearing my same shoes or not. Oh, wait.
No, she doesn't. It doesn't. I can't
it's
clock
covered.
The purple shoelaces anywhere.
Yeah, okay. Oh, I couldn't see because our images are there, but yeah, so that was the first one. We went out into the woods and I set up my tripod and I took that photo on a interval time shooter. So like I was really into like the tech of photography too, like how, because I was taking so many self-portraits, like how could I take, you know, 20 and do some moving so I don't have to keep going back and setting a one timer. So interval time shooting is a really cool thing because you can set it up. A lot of people use it for like time lapse of like sunsets and stuff like that. So typically I would shoot my picture first and then I could direct my mom by looking at that photo and getting her to do the same thing, especially on whatever. What I always liked, if I was like, oh, I like this photo of me. Okay, I'm going to try to get my mom to do it. So, so then that was kind of the first one. And then I thought
also, thanks to Mom for being such a good sport.
She was super into it, which is amazing. There's the helmet.
There's the helmet.
And so what's really awesome about this project too is like, I was really sad. I remember my professors in college said, you know, one-off projects are great, but when you do series, it really like shows that you can do more and you can add on to something. And so this project actually went pretty viral and ended up in like Frankie magazine. It went into some like German newspaper. It really went mostly viral overseas, but
nice.
So a lot of these too, I actually got my mom, and I need to find where I kept them, but I actually had taken Instax of us too. So there's Instax version of these photos somewhere. I need to find out where those are.
Hunt them down.
Oh no, I haven't. I forgot about this project, and then you're talking about it, so it's so funny. That's at my grandma's house, and so it's nice to have these images too because she passed away. I can't remember what year it is because from 2020 to now, those years just like
everything
blend
blurs
together. So like this piece is from her house, and so like a lot of these staged photos are kind of. I was like, let's put the chair there and like let's do this.
Which also is such an interesting like connection as well, even for the idea between mother and daughter, and then obviously your mom, and it's your mom's mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and your mom and her mother, like it's like 3 generations captured in a series of 2 images, which is cool.
Yeah, and she's actually in one of them down the way. So these are back at our house when we had like our construction stuff was done. And I like this idea too of kind of, I had seen in a movie a face lit up by a phone and I was like, that's so cool. Like, and it's so eerie in like a way. So we shut off the lights and made that our only light source. And
you're like, pretend you're on Tumblr.
This was Tumblr time. Yeah.
Yeah, no, when it was out, I mean, it was what you said, it's like 2014, 2015, right?
Yeah. So this was like big Tumblr time. Yeah.
Tumblr time. Umar Korn and Oliver both say it's a great project, both idea and an execution. Ooh, what's happening here? What's going on with why is everyone looking down?
Yeah, so I don't know why. I think I like the way faces look when they look down and kind of like the eyes. You can see like the shape of the eye in that way. And like this is a little boat that I gotten from Goodwill. Like I collected things like that for a while. A lot of that I either got rid of a lot of stuff in the move to Texas because it's a lot. But yeah, this was just like, at this point in the project, it was like, grab something and use it. Like, it wasn't, you know, and maybe it creates a story from that. But it was very much improv. And a lot of my work is kind of what happens. Like, I sketch all the time, but it's like, what can we do in that moment? And when you do this much, you're like, I have to think of an idea. And we've done all these ideas. So how do I, you know, build on that? Planking was popular.
Yeah, that's why I rolled my eyes for a second. I have so many pictures of me planking, and it was such a blip in time. It was like a 3-month period of our lives that, like, we just, if aliens were to land and they just found like 2015 photos, they'd be like, what is going on?
Yeah, it was wild. And so like these ones too, you know, it's just these random positions and how can I do it? But and then yeah, repping now merch, getting my mom to wear it. And
was Meow Meow merch from you?
No, it's for the band Now.
Oh, okay.
But it was a play on their words, and I wish I still had this because we had an outdoor cat and we haven't seen him in a few months, and I think he's passed away, but this looks like him, and I really wish I still had this sweater. But I go through phases of just getting rid of a lot of stuff.
Purging, yeah.
Yeah.
This is fun also with
oh yeah, this is my friend Melissa, my best friend from college, and so she was visiting, and I always liked adding someone else to it because it's like, if you glance quickly, I mean, my mom and I are similar height, so it's like you don't necessarily see it at first. And she's wearing like super, like, I don't know, like Warped Tour meets like, I don't know, Urban Outfitters clothes.
Right.
So yeah.
No, this is great. But so this is series you said took off. You said it picked up on a few places like overseas. Oh, that's cute. I like this.
And that's actually a portrait of my grandma in the back too, when she was in the what was it, the Red Cross? Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. I mean, obviously you guys still have those photos, right?
Yes, actually, I have one. I keep it up on my desk.
Oh wow! Wait a second. That looks like something from like Captain America. Like, looks like a posed photo in a way that like it looks too cool to be real. You know what I mean?
I know. I love this. I would love to reenact that. Get my hair.
Oh, that would be also a really cool segment as well.
Yeah.
But okay, so obviously this was like about 10 years ago or so. You still have your photography section on your website. Going from this to that, which one is the most recent of these 5?
Probably the GE, but I actually like have contemplated taking off photography, but for me it's kind of that art direction piece, like showing that I can do that, because I'm no longer the photographer really much anymore. Like, a lot of times I'll go on set with my wife and like she's a photographer, but I did shoot some of these. I shot the one on the left, and then my wife shot the one on the right. But we went into this, it was like a train factory in northern Texas. And we were there, and it was a Mother's Day piece. And it was showing like the strength of women who are mothers. And so we got to meet these people where they work and shoot photos.
Blue streak is really cool.
That was really amazing to see people welding and things like that. So I think my career has been really interesting because I've gotten to do some really just like wide variety of things. And now I guess you see more of this kind of stuff. And if I'm art directing or creative directing something, and less actually doing it on my own, but just being there in different worlds and experiencing it right before COVID, like people right before they told us not to be around other people, we went and shot photos of a Wagyu beef farm ranch near where we live, actually. And I mean, we're pescatarians, so it was a really interesting experience to like meet people out there who are, you know, doing something different than what we do, and really just like learning how, you know, all of us we have our similarities, and then of course there's subcultures and cultures that are so different, and we're all sometimes scared of each other. But I think that's been one of the beauties of the kind of range of work I've gotten to be a part of and experience. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool to see your workflow change and be influenced by, like to your point, things that aren't necessarily things that you would see every day, because you were saying pescatarian, and just kind of getting an idea of the other world around you, which goes back to your whole process. So I was wondering if we could see a little bit behind the curtain and see a little bit of what makes your work with what's in your sketchbook.
Ooh, what's in your sketchbook?
So obviously Sketchbook isn't, the mandated part of this. It's more so of just like looking behind the curtain. Is there anything that you're comfortable with sharing to show your process?
Yes, I actually made a little pile of stuff to share. What's funny is I love buying sketchbooks, y'all, but oh my gosh, have I filled one up? Maybe one.
Oh, right.
It's
I had
like-
a friend that was really good at filling them up. She would do like front to back, and she'd fly through them, and I'd be like, oh, cool, I get like 5 pages in, and I just want to buy a new one.
I just really like buying them. There's something satisfying about buying a new sketchbook and drawing on 2 pages. And so, but I have put together some of this. And let me know when you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see it. It's all
awesome. Okay, so I just like pulled out some sketches, and also just to talk to y'all about different things like with client work, or even this one is actually one that I presented to the audience on Adobe Live a little while back. And so I do a lot of digital sketching. So this one, this was another option that I was going to do. You can see where I do go back in with a heavier hand, but I do have kind of some of my like little moments of building the structure of pieces. And then it will vary to something like this. This was an unchosen piece for a client, but it's before it becomes digital. Well, digital, because this is also a digital piece, but sometimes I'll come in with grayscale and show how things can vary, because sometimes with clients, like they might not be able to see what it's going to look like. So something with line work, maybe they're thinking, oh, you're going to present the end piece in line work. So how can you help guide them in that way? And so one of those things is, for some clients, they're going to need something maybe in color, or like something a little further done. And then for other clients that maybe are already know your work and are used to it, then you can show them a sketch and they'll know that it will end up kind of like your work. So
now, not being directly freelance, have you found that that's gotten considerably harder or considerably easier now that you kind of are a part of a team?
It's for team. Do you mean showing kind of work in a sketch way?
No, in a way of like working with the client to guide them along with things that they're not as comfortable with. Like, do you feel like you can be more ambitious with providing options to clients when you're with a big team, or do you feel like that's easier when you're freelancing?
So actually, well, with my team, we're kind of, even though we deal with a certain number of brands, we're actually kind of like an in-house team. So we are actually working directly with all of the products with the different brands we're working with. Cool. We're kind of in there a little more. It's rather than like client kind of telling us about them, even though we have marketing teams that come to us and say, this is the feature we're trying to release. We're already kind of in the know. So it's, we don't show as many options as maybe we would with an outside client. So it is a different process, but what's kind of cool is I can, with my team, if I have an idea, I might sketch it up by hand and say, hey, like, let's try to like translate this sketch into for the team at Planoly, or, at like this other team we have like Gather Up. So it's like, it's a very different process. And I think it's interesting because I think my brain is pretty split on like the two design worlds. I don't shut off this side of me when I'm at work, because I want to get that creativity in there that might, I don't know, like create an idea that we would have not thought of if I shut that side of my brain off. But there's a very different approach. I feel like sometimes I live in like different pockets of the world, but I also blanket that over as like always being me through it all, but it's like different parts of me. So yeah, I don't know if that explains, but
No,
like,
it's very helpful.
yeah, I feel like the Carra Sykes like illustration and design side is much more on the illustration design kind of imagination play, and then taking some of that imaginative like thought and putting it into something that might be a little more structured is the Carra Sykes design director. But
Sounds so fancy. Oh, I love this map. This map is cute. Also, I like this box.
Yeah, this was for a I ended up changing it up. It's on my website actually, the final painting. But I really I started doing this thing where I do kind of these colors of gray in my work to kind of show different pieces. So like, I think a lot of people don't see the sketch side unless you watched a lot of my old Adobe lives, but and sometimes I'll do this where it's like a map, like a brain map. So this was for one that I was going to do. So it's like just like getting all these thoughts out and then circling things that really like hit my brain in a way that I know I can take that and like put it into my work. So like here's another
what's
one.
The colors there? Like when did you decide to switch into a different color?
Oh, so these ones are kind of like these pieces. So this was water and then fruit. And so like so my first words that I chose and would be different colors, and then I would like fan off of those. But I think I can't remember. No, none of these connected from different ones. Excuse me. But those, I think I did that to kind of separate my brain too. I do like to work in black and white a lot before color, because it helps with contrast for me. But another one is just like getting out every thought I have that like has to do with, this one was like the mountains or the beach. Like, what are these things that could be related or like not related? And then here's another like quick, this is a real, I wanted to have some examples. Like,
oh, this one's so cute.
Yeah, so like some of these I wanted to have like examples of digital. So, and then also show that I do love the feeling of pencil to paper. There's like, I use my iPad and my pencil all the time, but like, so there's something so like, I don't know if the word is visceral, but it's like that you feel the texture, you hear it, and it's just like so lovely. So, I go and do that. This is actually, I put this in here because I got to be a part of these tutorials on Illustrator recently. So if you go into Illustrator, actually I'm just gonna pop it up. This is another piece. You can go up here, and if you're like interested in a tutorial, illustration. Oh, I spelled that wrong. Illustration. You can actually find these tutorials here that I worked on, and that was a sketch from that, which I had.
I didn't even know that was possible through Illustrator. Which actually, speaking of which, I guess we should probably do our real quick of I didn't know that was there.
What? I didn't know that was there.
Also, real quick, Himanshu says that he's starting a design career but doesn't know how to brainstorm. So that's very helpful to have that word map and breakdown of different ways of kind of just getting your brain on paper. So I appreciate that. But also, what do we got here?
Well, note on that too, anything you think of, when it randomly comes to your head, put it in your notes. You have your phone with you most of the time, just write a note down. Even if it's weird and you won't understand it later, it might help out. For me, one of my biggest things, especially working on a design team, and we use this in our design team, but let's see, I have this thing called Carra Colors. So libraries is amazing because you come here, let's see. Okay, so you see this cute primary. So I have that here, and I'm in Illustrator now, but I'm gonna tab over to Photoshop, and I have that here.
Just back up still.
So what's amazing is like with your libraries, you can have assets like that. So I have a lot of colors that I use pretty regularly. Like this one I call pretty colors. This one's called cute primary. So you can like make your own color swatches, but it's not only that. If you look here on Illustrator, I'm gonna zoom out here. I have these pieces, and you can like actually like save graphics. And so like if I was in Photoshop, I could also like find this and these aren't groups, so you'll see that mine aren't that organized, but at work on my work computer, I actually have different ones for the different brands. So we can like easily access the logo for one of our brands and put it into assets that we're working on. So it's really great because even on Adobe Fresco, I can open that up and I'll have my color palettes that I've already created. So then my work can be cohesive if that's what you're going for. So.
Yeah, the one of the ways that I've been able to kind of hack libraries to even work for me is I just have a whole one just for social icons. So I have like the Instagram vector, I have Twitter, Behance, and then that way whenever I'm working on a client, I can just go and click, and I can click and drag into it because that one will be something that I constantly go back to.
Yeah. And what's really cool too is like I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh, I need to organize really bad. But I have like, this one is something I never ended up using, but I created all of these textures in Photoshop with different pictures of paper that I had done, and you can just drag them in, and then you have your texture there. And this one, I think I had made it purple in Photoshop, but I think if I were to create this in Illustrator, then I could change it to any color I wanted.
And you created half tones out of those too?
Yeah, so I created this out of like crumbling a piece of paper and then taking photos with my phone and then like making them halftone in Photoshop, and then now they're within this like library that I have here and created textures and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
So we have been live for about an hour and a half, which means sadly that we are going to be towards the end of our show. I do want to thank you for coming on. Is there anything else coming up for you that you kind of want to promote, that you're interested about, or you're excited about? I see here you have a gift shop on your website, and it's for a coloring sheet.
That gift shop, okay. So I love going to museums. So the joke behind this actually is like an inside joke with myself, but it's that idea of if you go to Carra on there, my about me is like, thanks for coming to this corner of the internet. I wish I could give you a tour and then show you to the gift shop, because that's like my favorite place to go when I go to museums outside of seeing art and all that. Right. And so like the idea of having one. So that was a coloring thing I had done on Adobe Live, my personal one on Behance. And it was a freebie download for people to download and color. And I know we're like so short on time, but I went to a hotel in Austin and we were staying there, and I used my carrasykes.com email address to book it. And one of the people had found this on my site, colored it, and left a note in my room. And it was a Austin.
See, that's between cute and creepy. It's like definitely,
I guess it could be. Line. But I had a moment where it's like, wow, like that's really cool, because I think like, artists and stuff, you're like, oh, maybe, maybe I'll make a bloop in the universe that I'm here. But yeah, I guess it's really creepy.
You made an impact on someone too, and they also, they had fun. They went through with it too. So although they sacrificed it, they gave it away. I mean, but then again, if they gave it back to the artist, I guess that's like peak influence or what have you. But yeah, so you're working on things that you obviously can't talk about because of work. But is there anything else that we can look forward to, and where can we see you? Where can we find you? What is next for you?
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be I'm coming up on that. We're 4 months into the year. I'm kind of hitting something where I'm like, I'm ready to start experimenting again with my work. So I don't know, I've got ideas for video content. I mean, on Instagram, you can find more for me. I am not as on social as much. I think part of that's because I work with social planning brands. So social is like always there.
Social's all day, every day.
So I kind of have like personally kind of drawn away from it a little more, but I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what that looks like. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, follow me there. And then eventually maybe I'll do some YouTube stuff. I've been inspired by Kathleen Kathleen illustrated, doing YouTube videos, and now just like doing some amazing stuff. So, maybe I will.
I didn't see your little BB-8 guy. That's so cute.
Oh yeah, and that's like a different style too. So I think I'm ready to start making again. I've been on a break long enough. I think it's time to.
And also, if you follow on Instagram, you get to see cute pictures of Walt too, which is nice.
Yes.
Look at him. Well, anyway, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot. It was great seeing your collection and seeing your work and seeing your process. As always, make sure you guys give her a follow on Behance and Instagram and everywhere and the like. But thank you so much. And do you have any last words?
I don't know. I'm just happy to be here and thankful that Ryan, you thought of me. And yeah, I don't know. I think the biggest thing is like, we're all going through stuff. So be kind to yourself as much as you can and do the things that you want to do, because you never know. Could be the best thing. It might be the worst. I don't know,
And I like what you said about like, if it comes in your brain, write it down. Doesn't matter. It might lead to something else, which is really good. So, all right. Well, thank you again so much. And take care.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye. All right, guys. We'll be back in just about 5 minutes with Ricky. So make sure you stay tuned for some more Offset. But in the interim, I guess just hang out, go get some water, take a short walk, but be back here in 5 minutes for Ricky Fernandez. So thank you guys so much and have a good one. Bye. Do I have my outro? I don't know. Oh man, I might not have my outro. Oh yes, I do. Okay. Bye.